The 29th, I think it goes back to 29th.
So that's what to do. Give them some rest.
All right. David, can you hear us?
Yep, I got you.
Hello.
All right. There's four of us tonight on the work session, so we'll go ahead and begin. First one on the list was 716 Garden Avenue. Any comments from board members?
Yeah, I just had a comment that the drawings were not exactly complete, but I understand the concept that they're going for. Like, for example, there are no side elevations shown and no railing shown on the stairs, but I don't have any issue with what they're proposing because I understand kind of what they're going for, but the drawings aren't exactly representing that.
Is there any issue with them going with the picket style on the side of the house versus the more elaborate original design?
I mean, personally, I like the half wall design. I think it's more in keeping with the house. And as a practical matter, it's a great place to hide packages from porch pirates.
Yeah,
Um,
no, you're right. Yeah.
But I mean, I understand what they're doing and I can maybe appreciate wanting it opened up. It's okay. I do like the original better. And I also did have a question about whether they were just going to leave the cedar posts raw or if there was going to be any finish on those. Just kind of goes to Tracy's point about the completeness of the drawings.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a similar comment. I wasn't sure if the infill that's getting replaced was original. That wasn't clear. I assumed it was.
Yeah.
thought-
Yeah.
And I understand there's always a code issue there because it's the height of it. So, and I think similarly though, understand, there's context on the house. So I wasn't necessarily going to be opposed to it. But I wanted to ask that question. And then, Tracy's point, I think I assume the same, that the side elevation would match what's on the front. Just to clarify that. And, that's all I had. Ken, we're on the first one, 716 Garden Avenue, if you have any comments.
Well, it's not in a historical district, I noticed, so it looks like they're getting rid of the knee wall and going with an open rail, which I don't have any problem with, so I'm good with it.
Okay.
I didn't hear your prior comments, so anything worth listening to?
I think there was a note that there's no side elevation. We assume it's going to be the same.
All right.
I think to confirm that.
Mhm.
So you're thinking the intent is them to take out the lattice and do those cedar boards on the apron below? Is that what you're thinking?
On the front and the side.
Just everything's gonna be consistent. What-
Okay.
Do one thing and do it everywhere, right?
Yeah, it might
Yeah.
be a good idea just to clarify all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are questions we should ask for sure. Because it's not clear on the drawing.
Right.
And then David, were you suggesting anything were you making reference to the rear porch or just the front porch?
The rear porch is the one with the picket style that they're going to put on the front porch. And
Right.
it was just my comment that others here were also saying that they prefer the half wall look to keep with the original intent. And then in addition, it looks like there's gonna be a black powder coated aluminum rail on the front porch. Is that then matching what's on the side or rear porch? Again, to Ken's point, if it is in a historic district, then it's not really much we would have
Right.
to say about it.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's a note that the rail will match existing rails, but when you look at the pictures.
Yeah.
The existing rails look like they're wood.
Yeah, and I went to Google Maps and went to the house, and the house is like a slate gray blue color.
Yeah,
So wondering if that would be compatible with if they use the black powder coated aluminum.
okay. That's a question, I think. All right, any other comments? All right, next one for discussion is 25 and 29 West Moody Avenue. Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts. I was struggling with this project because in looking at the existing building, I feel like there's so much character to the way the roof hips on the corners and that there's this nice trim underneath with some corbels. And I feel like the proposed design was just metal panel. Just loses all of that detail. And it just really simplifies it to a point where I'm looking for that special piece to remain, something that gives it some character. And I feel like that's lost with the proposed design. And I feel like the windows on the side are a great addition. That's going to be really nice to add those, but the front facade, I just struggled with that revision based on what exists there now.
I have similar thoughts, and I was wondering what was driving the design of the proposed. It just looks so generic. And I think that the existing roof lines and some of the details look much more compatible with the neighborhood. You know, with the neighboring properties, the church building and some of the more historic properties adjacent. And this just kind of looks like strip mall style. And there's also some inconsistencies in the submittal that I think we might want to discuss. If you look at the existing front elevation, in the middle of the roof, there appears to be a separation wall that's through the roof plane. And it looks to me when I drove over there that the side brick walls and that center brick wall all aligned. So I was wondering, is that center brick separation wall, is that being cut back? Is it being removed? And I guess what we're looking at here, is that a newly constructed parapet, and is that going to bow around it, or how is that going to actually work there? And then also too, we really can't see what's on the underside of that proposed shed roof canopy. Is there going to be a soffit there? Is there going to be some trim or something up above those windows? I agree, it's great to add some windows on the side there. And then when we're looking at comparing the color illustration with the drawings, it looks like on the side of the proposed new shed roof, on one drawing, there's actually a fascia on the side, and on the color illustration, it just looks like the raw panel extending straight down, which is a pretty unfinished kind of look. Let's see what else we have on the list here. And yeah, that existing hip roof is a very nice detail. And I was wondering if they knew exactly, if they're planning on removing that hip, do they know that there's indeed existing brick underneath there that matches? And then also verifying where we're infilling some wall openings. Are they planning to infill that with brick that matches? Just some things that we would normally see called out on the drawings that are not there. And just verify that there are no proposed changes to the west or the rear elevations.
I was just curious why you're messing with the roof to begin with myself. So,
Yeah.
we would Reshingle it, do all sorts of things with it,
Mhm.
be simpler and possibly less expensive. So I'm curious if there's going to be a representative, the owner here, and they could explain the rationale for becoming so what appears to be overly aggressive here. That's all.
And it looks like there's a for sale sign in front of the property. So I didn't know if this is something that's for speculation or for, if there's a particular client who's directing the design, just to find out where we are and where we're going and why.
They could paint it white and look like Maryland Avenue in Clayton.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, I have similar comments to everyone else's there, especially that center demising wall. Um, you know, I mean, if it is gonna remain two tenants that may need to remain there, but, the code's gotten more lenient over time, but, yeah, if that, where is that on the elevation, on the proposed elevation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely there unless you're removing it
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on
because
that.
it sticks
'cause-
out
Yeah. that's a
proud
good
of the,
point.
Yeah, and it most likely is in the same plane as the front brick below it.
yeah.
It is. I drove over there and took a pretty close look at it and it looks like it's all in the same plane.
Yeah. I've, I kind of like the existing window pattern on the left, versus getting rid of it altogether. I don't mind the fact that they're opening up more wall for more window wall, but wonder if
Mhm.
they would consider that grid pattern.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a unique feature of the building.
Well, as long as the two sides, each side is consistent among itself, it might look like two different buildings, so that's.
Yeah.
That's fine by me, but if they're changing on the right side, if they're gonna add glass, it probably should be commensurate with what's like the fixed lights on that side of the building, maybe.
Yeah, or at the very least, pull in the transom
Mm-hmm.
horizontal all the way across through both. I mean, all the fenestration on the front would bring that similar, scale that the existing has. Not necessarily have to break it up as much as the current left-hand side is, but just a simple horizontal would do a lot for that fenestration. Okay. Unless there's any other comments, we'll discuss that during the regular session.
No other comments, and I know that we're not charged with talking about color at all, but I did look up the colors just because I was curious. And it doesn't appear that it would look like this rendering, the Sherwin-Williams natural paint color doesn't actually match the clay metal panel color. So it looks like they want them to match, but what's called out here wouldn't actually match. That's all.
Okay.
Does that conclude the work session?
I think at this point, that would conclude the work session and we'll resume the regular session at 5:30.
Okay, so we will be muted until 5:30. It's 5:30.
All right, welcome everyone to the Architectural Review Board meeting, December 15th. We just finished our work session and the official regular meeting is now underway. Introduce Yolanda Wilkins and Andrew Klosterman with the city. We have Sarah Richardson, City Council Liaison online, Carol Dunkey and Tracy Collins, Ken Burns, David Yates, and myself, Bob Buckman, volunteer architects on the board. First item of business is approval of minutes from December 1st. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the December 1st meeting minutes as written.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed or any comments? So the meeting minutes are approved as written. Next, we have a couple of pre-approvals. So when I asked for the motion, please refer to the handout that Mara emailed and copies that are on our desk. First one is 725 Yale Avenue. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve 725 Yale Avenue with the understanding that the 3 casement windows will have a horizontal rail so that they match the double hung windows.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? 725 Yale Avenue is approved. Next, we have 149 Cottage Avenue. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to pre-approve 149 Cottage Avenue, contingent on the cover sheet will be corrected to say Webster Groves. I did. And there will be a white stone ledge cap above the brick, and the dormer will be illuminated on the attic level.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 149 Cottage Avenue is approved. All right, next we have a couple of projects. When I call your project, if you're here in person, just come up to the microphone and introduce yourself and we'll discuss your project. First one is 716 Garden Avenue.
My name is Michael Booker. My wife's name is Jerry Fry. We've lived at that residence for 24 years. So what we're trying to do is enhance it. And so we put 45 new windows in. We've put new siding on. We're trying to make our front porch to be better. The house is 134 years old. So everything we've done thus far has been to enhance our house and make it safer and better. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're not changing anything on the porch size-wise. The width of the porch stays the same, the depth stays the same. The only thing that's different, and you might have seen in a packet that I've given to you guys, what the porch looked like previously. It's just depth, decremental architecture that has no bearing on the structure of the porch. So we're taking that off and we're replacing that with, I brought these for you guys, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put anodized aluminum. Where you see like this stuff down here,
Mm-hmm.
it's all going to be this aluminum stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And there's another picture of a porch actually in here like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see there's another picture in there showing the cedar 8x8 posts that we're replacing the old, which were never metal posts.
Yeah.
White boxes built around like 4x4s.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, that's where we stand with that, but
While I have you up there, one quick question. Are you going to suspend the railing this picture is showing dual posts, but that rail would run continuous between them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
I mean, all that was to
So-
show
so
you
this is it.
sort of kind of
Yeah,
what it was
okay.
gonna look like.
I understand,
You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yes, everything would be,
just
you know,
what you're
this is
indicating.
gonna be an 8x8 post, 8x8
Yeah.
post, 8x8 post, and everything else in between instead of what the old stuff.
Yeah.
Right, I get you.
That's
The knee
just be
wall.
taken off.
Okay, all right,
So that's about just what we're
I
trying
got
to
you.
do.
okay,
Sure.
good.
Okay, thank you.
Question, the posts that you gave us in the photograph show that they're wrapped with trim at the bottom. Will your posts be wrapped with trim like that?
This is just an example of something that we've seen. We take a picture of, but yes, this is all gonna be cast off properly.
Okay, so you'll have base and cap trim
Yes.
or just at the bottom?
Well, but see, what's gonna happen underneath those posts. is They're gonna be, they're going to be attached to tiling under the porch.
Right, but
And then there would be a cap on the bottom and a cap at the top, just like
okay,
that.
so yeah, you'll have cap
Cap
trim,
there,
the
cap
trim,
I
right,
mean, so
okay.
that, we're not necessarily to show exactly how it's going to look, but it's sort of the overall vision, if you will.
Right, yeah, though, I think we had, a lot of our questions were just to clarify things that didn't show on the drawings. And so we can, when we
Yes,
get
yes.
to do a motion, we can, add these kind of
Yeah, these will
things.
be all cap.
Okay. So you'll have the plain cedar post, but they'll have cap trim and base trim.
Right.
Okay,
With cedar.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. Sure, that's it.
Stay up there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can go back to the microphone. Thank you.
I'll go hide now.
One of the questions, I think, just to clarify, the side of the porch is gonna match the front because there wasn't an elevation
yes.
drawn, so. I think that was just one of the practical things.
Everything, we have a side porch also, which
Mhm.
was not a problem. But the side porch is going to take on the same flavor as. So whatever the decorative wood on the front porch, on the
Right.
sides, front, all of that's going to be replaced with that anodized aluminum.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And the same lattice, the
The
board.
lattice is a little different. We're putting like 1 by
Yeah. I'm seeing this.
6
That's fine.
cedar
Mhm.
horizontal, which I think is visually more pleasing.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna replace the lattice on the other side of the house with that same horizontal? So, okay. Cause I think that was a question, David had that same question, so, right, the railing on the back even is gonna be replaced to match the new railing on the front, because it looks like it's wood now. That railing there, it's not in the drawings. That's what we were saying.
Oh. This railing is gonna be the 1 by 6
Yeah,
horizontal.
the infill on, yep,
Yes, right, and on the other side of that,
right.
which is over here.
Mm-hmm,
same
right.
way.
Gotcha. Yep.
So everything's gonna be,
Yep.
much more spiffy than it's been.
Right.
And it's 134 years old,
Sure.
but it's a beautiful home, so we've enjoyed.
It is.
In fact, when we first moved to St. Louis, well, I moved to St. Louis in 1972 out of college. Way before college. I was a commodity broker for 4 years, have a degree in economics and a degree in arts. And so I became a graphic designer.
Uh-huh.
And I bought my first house in Webster on 622 Hollywood Place in 1974. I was 24 years old. And I bought a house in Kirkwood some years later. We've been in this house, as I say, for 24 years
Mhm.
thus far. And we were here for 2 years. And sometimes, like, if you get the reputation, like you do something in the arts, like you're supposed to be able to do everything.
Heh.
You know, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Like, wow, he can draw that picture for you, or you can do that.
Right.
Well, anyway, I really never messed around with horticulture. However, we wound up being on the Secret Garden Tour on Webster Grove in 2001. And we were at Garden of the Month in 2001. And we were actually, our yard was photographed by Better Homes and Gardens. That same year.
Nice.
So what, the point being is like, we have tried to encourage our neighbors to step up a little bit. and
Right. Enhance.
Try start.
Yeah, That's awesome.
Years, so I feel like that was a good thing we were able to do.
Sure.
For us. Anyway, so what we're trying to do is just
Yeah.
get our house back up and ready to rock.
Okay. I think we'll just make sure everyone doesn't have any more questions first. So if you
I
want to
just,
just go back to your microphone so that we can have you on the recording, if that's okay.
just a
Carol?
quick comment. If you're going to be doing work on your side and your rear porch as well as the front porch, you'll want to make sure that that's included on your permit submittal to the city. So they know that your intent is to work on those as well. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just to verify that. Yeah.
This is Dave. During the work session, we discussed if all the new cedar work was gonna get painted. Is that in fact true? That the cedar will be painted or left natural?
The cedar post, are they painted or left natural?
No, it's gonna be not.
Okay,
I mean, it may be, we have to seal it, but we're not gonna paint it.
Yeah,
It's
he
gonna
m-
remain a wood grain.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
He might be
It's
having
gonna
trouble
cedar.
hearing you.
Yeah, if you
Resume.
go to your microphone, that way we can have you on the recording.
This is my first inquisition.
Nah.
So, yes, we are going to keep it natural cedar. If that makes sense, even though we will coat it with something to make it last.
Yeah, you're gonna seal it, clear seal it.
Uh,
Okay, so Dave, I don't know if you heard everything, but do you have any comments?
no, I mean, I personally would prefer it to be painted, but that's the homeowner's
about
Per-
painting.
purview, I believe.
Right, I think that's fine.
That's the homeowner's call.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? So I think with that, I'm gonna ask Carol to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to, let me get my stuff in order here. You surprised me, Bob.
You're calling on her. I think it's just top and bottom.
Yeah,
tabs,
okay.
and then-
716
Add to
Garden.
this, if I'm missing something, I'll make a motion to approve the project as submitted with the understanding that the cedar posts will have cap and base trim, and that work will be done also on the rear and side porch, and that the rear and side porch will have railings and enclosures below to match the front porch.
Absolute, that's exactly, that's plan, that's the plan. Nothing's gonna be, everything's gonna
Yeah, I'll
work together.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Michael, you're approved.
We good?
You're welcome to go. Yep, you're approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Now, can I come back tomorrow and get this permit so we can get started?
You have to submit permit.
So
forms.
if everything is here that we need to submit, I'll look at it tomorrow and then I'll try to get it out. You're more than welcome to contact me.
I'll do that.
And I can let you know tomorrow. But yeah,
Okay, good.
we're pretty well caught up on plan review, so we should be able to process it pretty quick.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be.
Yeah. I'll take care of it first thing tomorrow morning, so. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Keep that. Good night. Bet. Next, we have 25 and 29 West Moody Avenue. Metal samples.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Anybody else?
Probably Andrew with the city.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Dave Dunlap. I'm with Consolidated Construction Group and I'm a friend of the owner. And the owner is a Webster resident, so they have a commitment to staying in the area, commitment to the building. The building is not for sale. What was probably seen was a for lease sign, but the building was purchased, I think, a little over a year ago. And the immediate need was to replace the windows. The windows right now are wood, they're rotted and in need of repair. So the first thing was to look at the window situation. And also the owner was not happy with the massive roof that reminds him of mansard roofs in the area where he grew up. And when the roof is probably half the elevation, he was very adamant that the roof dominated. And I suggested from a cost standpoint to, as Ken said, maybe doing something with roofing or whatever that would soften that and he was also interested in doing some color and he really wants to enhance the building. So the question became, what do we do? 3-type shingles, architectural shingles, metal, and what you see in the first picture here is the next door neighbors, Wellens. And before they put the patio porch shed thing on, I mean, it was actually kind of a cool building, a little bit of a Spanish flair to it, had some clay tile. So I was mentioned, maybe you want to do something along those lines. And the stumbling block was that massive roof that just dominates the front elevation. What the building is a concrete block building. And what you can see is the brick veneer. And it's a bigger brick. It's more of a utilitarian type of brick. You really don't see it much, certainly not in Webster. So that was also something that was not a plus. So what the idea was number one, do something with the windows. Secondly, do something to create a building that had better appeal, curb appeal, and be something that was more empathetic, more sympathetic to what the Webster streetscape. So the owner's daughter, oldest daughter, is now a freshman in college and she's going into engineering or maybe architecture. I tried to sway her out of architecture, but anyway. So she actually was as a summer fun thing, drove around Webster, took pictures, even went in the Central West End, down to city, Soulard, just took pictures of older buildings with the idea of trying to do something to make this building more aesthetically pleasing. And basically what you see is what she came up with and collectively we came up with to be more sympathetic to the streetscape. So what these pictures, what you've got before you, and Dave I don't know if you can see any of this stuff or not.
I had a packet.
No, you didn't get the thing I just handed
Oh.
out though.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at a bunch of photos of surrounding areas with awnings and canopies.
But what
Okay.
you really see on Lockwood, Gore, the areas that have a lot of commercial development are awnings, and that was the main thing. And so the idea was to remove this massive roof, replace it with an awning, and then that gave the opportunity to do something above the awning with, because there's no brick there, to do something to create maybe some texture, some color, maybe a little bit more of an upscale kind of a look. So that's what you see before you. On the side that is concrete block, so the east elevation is nothing great. And the idea was because this brick was not overly attractive is to, and you've got the pictures there. That's the metal siding colors. Only got one paint chip, sorry. But that would be what the brick and block would be painted. And unfortunately, chief architect doesn't do a superb job of colors. So that's why I brought those. I think you get a little bit better idea. The idea is to have the awning and the area above the awning be a strong color and a little more subdued on the paint color for the brick and the block. And then the windows would be black. One thing, I don't know if it was Ken or somebody mentioned, right now there's a freeze board above the windows. So we talked, do we do the freeze board? Do we not do the freeze board? And the discussion went to no freeze board because of what do you do from a size standpoint? What do you do from a color standpoint? Do you put a 12-inch freeze board, paint it black? Does that start to dominate the windows? Do you do something different? So the decision was made to just bring the awning down to the windows. And then what you have on the interior is it's just 8-foot ceilings. So it would have been cool if you had a 10-foot ceiling in to do transoms or whatever. But you've got enough, it's a 7-foot door on the west or the west lease. It's a spa. There's a transom above that door. But the other, there's enough room to do that. And then on the other side, we're right up against it because we've got a 6/8 door and then we still did a transom above that. But to enter I talked about maybe doing, as you mentioned, maybe a transom going across or some kind of a horizontal element. What the owner, and we showed him some ideas, what the owner really wanted was to maintain and really try to keep as much of a vertical element as possible, make the windows, no mullions, no horizontal bars, just keep those windows as big and open as possible and really create emphasis on the awning and the color. So that's kind of how the whole process came about. And then with these are the panels. This would be, we're trying to create some texture. And this is what the owner picked out. This would be for the wall, and then this would be for the awning. So a little bit lower profile on the higher seam. But that's Dave, you see this?
Yeah, thank you.
Did you hear, did you hear our comments about the question about the, David, we were talking about that existing brick that's currently projected out and it seems like it's flush with the sides. Are you guys going to remove that?
It stops. It doesn't go all the way up. What you see in the existing photo is brick veneer.
Mm-hmm. So that's.
And you can actually see on the sides, it's a little bit difficult in just the one photo you have, but that's why that roof recesses in and why you see the brick, the columns, what I call them the columns for lack of a better description, those are all in the same plane. But in between those columns above the windows, you've got something up there, but it's probably block. And that's why you've got that roof that covers the block, but there's no veneer. Be cool if there's veneer. Then you could really have some fun.
Did that answer the question? I guess, I don't know if I followed that.
Well, I guess just to be specific, this
Little-
brick pier right here,
Right.
is not flush with the ones on the
Yes, it is.
sides.
It is.
Okay, so the new metal panel is going to be out flush
We're
in
just gonna
front of
remove
that.
That, what the owner wanted to do is just remove that.
So they're going to
veneer
remove it.
and just go over.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at an aerial right now, and that is definitely a demising wall between the two addresses. Yeah.
And it's just block.
Yeah, so you're going to remove that. That answers, right, just the veneer and then cover with a metal panel.
I
What
know
about the,
code- Oh, sorry, Bob. I know code isn't necessarily our thing to talk about, but being two addresses, and if we remove the demising wall, what does that do to
Just the
the
veneer.
addresses? No, I'm saying from a, is it technically considered one building now because you no longer have the fire separation between the buildings? Or maybe I'm getting in the weeds here, but just something to think about. If you do take it down, you might get into some code issues.
It's just a veneer. It's just a face.
Yeah, I think they would just take the brick off of that existing wall, leave the wall, but just remove as much brick as needed to get that metal panel going flush across the front.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
and,
got it.
and Dave, your camera dropped down. We can't
Oh,
see you.
I'm sorry.
Nice forehead
I'm
shot,
at-
though.
I'm at work right now and I have multiple screens, and so I'm
Yeah.
moving my camera around.
Got it. I understand. Yeah, and I was just gonna make one more comment about adding the horizontal, transom mullion, was a comment that I had made. I just thought it would help bring some human scale to that facade. I'm not quite sure I understood your comment. You said that's an issue from the interior or?
No, what would really be nice is if you could actually have a true transom. But what you're looking at is there's two elevations of these lease spaces, which makes it even more fun. So what you're fighting is if you go ahead and you could pick up that the transom above the door on the west lease space, then would you have a skinnier transom all the way across on the east space? You know what I'm talking about, Bob?
Mm-hmm.
So if you carry
Yeah.
that mullion here,
Mhm.
what do you do over here? Then you got skinnier ones.
Well, I was just
And
saying,
this is a 6/8 door.
right, because it rides up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't this one just be at the height of that door and this would be at the height of that
I
door?
think what the owner didn't like is it created more emphasis on the elevation changes.
I just think it would help
And cost.
I think it would help the aesthetics myself.
No, I showed him.
Returning to the owner's comment about he didn't like the big massive roof. I'm seeing you expend a lot of energy and effort here and the existing building, I think, is preferable to where you're going. I'm not gonna stop you. I don't think I can stop you. What if you suggested they just did a couple signboards, classic painted signboards that were lit? They'll break that mass up and give you a little more, I guess, visibility on the street. So, and that's just a suggestion on my part that I'd feel bad if I didn't
Mhm.
let you know that I
Yep.
think this is probably not.
And the Moody is not heavily traveled. Lockwood is, and where you can see the building is in between the church
Mhm.
and Regions Bank.
Mhm.
And then you've got that new retail thing, and Regions Bank has essentially the same kind of a treatment. The new retail thing is going the same kind of a treatment. And that's where the whole awning thing kind of came into
I'm
play.
just suggesting that as a way to create some elements
Right.
of the roof to break up the
Yep.
shingles, if that would put him at ease and maybe it's so aggressive with the building. That's a suggestion.
But it all started with the windows. The windows need to be replaced
Yeah.
and trying to make that as simple and as light producing. And then the idea on the Wesley space, those windows are all blocked over because that's storage area inside.
Mm.
But what he'd like to do is open those windows back up again, depending upon what happens with that Wesley space. But right now it's storage, so there's no reason to open it up.
Yeah, I really don't agree that the proposed elevation is in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. When I look at Regions Bank, there's a lot more detailing on that. And I really don't see, yeah, I really don't see any kind of detailing here that's on the proposed that really matches the surrounding neighborhood. And even if you look at Llewellyn's, when you look at the roof with the clay tile on it, that is actually configured very similarly to the existing roof on your building. So I really think that the existing roof is a better neighborhood fit. Yeah, this just, I appreciate and understand what you're saying about, wanting an open feel, but I just feel like this is really not at all in keeping with the quality or the character of the surrounding area. I like Ken's suggestion about maybe there's other things you could do to mitigate the size of the roof and maintain the basic configuration. But yeah, I really don't think you're doing your building any favors here by being that aggressive with it. And then also too, if you are planning on cutting back this hip roof, have you verified if there is face brick underneath where you're going to be removing that roof, or is that going to be exposed clay block or concrete block? Where
Because
if you're going to cut this
we
off,
have not done anything yet to explore what's there, because this is why we're here now. But it's pretty likely that what's behind that roof is concrete block. The face brick definitely doesn't go above the.
I'm just talking
windows.
about right here, this area right here. You're going to be pulling that off.
Just the roof part.
Just that little
And it would
triangle.
actually make
Yeah.
more of an architectural detail for the columns.
I
be
understand
visible.
what, I'm just saying, do you know if there's face brick below where you're going to be pulling this roof off? Because it might just be concrete block. They may have not run the brick all the way through.
It's pretty likely that the brick columns at either end,
It
Are
is
continuous.
likely,
there'd be
Yeah.
no reason.
if they, I'm just saying, have you done any exploration to
haven't
look
done
below
any-
there?
Any
Okay.
exploratory surgery yet.
And you were mentioning that the brick is a different type of size in the areas where you're going to be infilling. Are you going to match that size and type of brick?
Where the east lease space windows would be bigger, we're actually removing brick. So we're not really infilling any place,
Right.
and any brick that we would remove, we would reuse.
Right.
And then ultimately, all the brick would be painted.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm saying is you're going to be infilling right here. Because that's,
Below,
yes, that's what I'm
but you're
asking.
removing brick when all you have right now is a door. So you're gonna go from one single door to a door and two window panels. That will
Yes.
give enough brick to use for any
Right.
brick that you need.
Okay, so that answers the question. The
Okay.
question is that you plan to reuse salvage brick
Yeah,
to infill.
yeah.
That's
Yes.
the answer.
I'm
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
Is the intent to color the brick when you're done or
Mhm.
paint it,
paint it? That's right.
Yeah, that's this one.
because the owner's not really enamored of the color.
That's to the point of, and in all likelihood, there is a raw concrete block wall there that this roof projection's been added onto, and which would, I just throwing it out again as an option, you could stuck with this.
And I,
And go with the canvas.
and you and I are thinking along the same lines. That was also discussed, and the stucco, the stucco, almost by nature, you would paint
Oh, yeah.
certain colors.
Color.
And what the metal allowed was a more colorful palette, which the owner's wife liked.
Mhm.
I think you could I don't think whether it's stucco or metal controls the color of it, but it's not my building.
I'm,
I definitely-
And then I think there was a question, because that was our mess, by CAD. Those will be roll-lock sills on any new windows we put in.
Those slope brick sill.
Even on the concrete block, we go ahead and put a roll-lock in.
Is there going to be any kind of like fascia here? If you show one here,
It would just be the roof panel on that triangular area.
okay, and at the bottom of the panel, is there going to be a piece?
There
trim
has to
piece
be
here?
some kind of,
It's not it's not illustrated here. I'm just trying to verify which is your
It's-
proposed element.
this is chief architect limitations, but.
So you do plan to have a trim
With
piece there?
the whole idea would be to have a 6-inch gutter board, for lack of a better description.
So
Going
there-
on the
all-
front and as well as on the return.
Okay, so the answer is yes, there is going to be a fascia type
what-
gutter board
yes,
around the
yes.
sides. Okay.
So whatever would be on that front would be returned.
and is there any sort of soffit on the underside of that canopy?
Thank you. The idea there was just a white, more or less generic aluminum soffit, but the opportunity to go ahead and put lighting in to create some light interest.
Okay. I'm looking at the energy that's going to go into tearing off an existing roof to put a new roof in, and looking at the existing conditions with the brackets, the scroll work, the fascia board, et cetera. I'm wondering, would it be, to Carol's point, if you broke up this low slope mansard with maybe a dormer or some, yeah, don't know, or maybe where that demising wall is in the middle, make that 2 separate roofs to break it up.
It's
And
just
one-
the mass, I think, that the owner has the issue with.
Well, then where I'm going with this is what if you took the shingles off and roofed it with the metal roof panels in that stripe pattern you have, and it breaks it up and breaks the massing up with a lot less expenditure of energy. Just a thought. It just seems like a lot of trouble to put in. I mean, it's the owner's energy and money. It just seems to be, there's good bones there besides the windows. I'm just wondering if there's a different solution.
Yeah, I think the problem was the mansard roof. And to Ken's point, I mean, I mentioned there's a lot of different roofing materials that you can put on there, and even a metal roof and color and everything else. I think he just doesn't like the mass of the look and the massing of the mansard roof.
That's what I was a bit curious to hear when you explain kind of your process of going about the design, is that the mass is actually getting larger because it's going to be taller if you're taking out that freeze board and going to
But
that.
it's an awning now instead of a roof that goes from basically the top of the windows to the top of the parapet wall.
Yeah, and I guess if it is a roof and not like the example photos show with some of the canvas awnings, will you have a gutter along the front? Or no, you just let the water just fall right off of that roof structure? Like if you
Yeah,
look at
it'd
the,
just be like an awning. I mean, you don't gutter an awning.
I don't think there's a gutter on it now. Or
There's not.
it really doesn't need one.
And I mean, I think the big key is going from a roof structure to an awning, and that's what his daughter saw. In the streetscapes in Webster and in other areas of the city is awnings, not roofs. So
okay,
that's-
yeah, I was just curious since it's more in keeping with almost like the rolling ridge photo that you have where it's a metal roof and that has a gutter.
Right.
These other ones are canvas awnings, so just
Mhm.
curious how that would be treated at the edge.
On a day like yesterday, when it was cold pouring rain, I thought about how unpleasant it would be to want to walk into this place and have a nice cold shower of cold rain running directly off that metal roof and down your neck.
Or icicles.
But it's really no different than if you're at CJ Muggs and
Oh.
if you're a little bit out in the weather a little bit, yeah, you do get drips, but
Yeah, well, it's going to be a higher velocity drip coming down that metal roof.
No. I'm just gonna. If that's what they want to do, I don't know that. The way I understand this ordinance, we can say you can't do it, but this existing building has I think, a better character and a more pedestrian feel to it than that element, so. That's where I'm going about. I'll vote to say yay to this thing, but it'd be nice if I think you'd be better off keeping that money and taking it because of the Disneyland.
Or even something to soften it up a little bit, like a fabric awning. And if you wanted something colorful, you could do a colorful fabric awning.
and the
I-
nice thing with the fabric is you can change it out over, and that was,
Yeah.
again, didn't want the expense and wanted to be able to put the lighting in, and so we
Yeah.
had that discussion with the fabric awning.
Yeah, I just think that
And
would
even a
be,
straight metal, and they wanted,
yeah, I
Actually,
think that
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think the fabric awning would also be more in keeping with the
Yeah,
neighborhood. I mean, I just really, I think that what's proposed here is so generic to the point that it just, like I said earlier, it has more of a strip mall feel, and I don't know that that's really going to be beneficial to the neighborhood when you look at some of the fine quality buildings that are surrounding it.
Yeah, and Carol, you brought that up. I think that made me realize that I'm having problems with the 3 different colors of sheet metal. That maybe if you do have a neutral sheet metal that is more in character with the neutral colors of the brick and the masonry on that vertical face, and then do a fabric canopy with the stripes down low, that would sit better with me, I think. And you can light a fabric canopy. You know, you could have lights
all right,
mounted
little more.
mounted the framing.
Think we need to.
Yeah, and I think
Here.
for me, I think the windows are a little, it's just a little stark. It's missing that human scale that the original building had. And I think an easy fix would be to add those horizontals myself. There are some examples you sent, you showed around the corner where they have horizontals down low. But something to help kind of break up that facade a bit. I think it feels, someone said a little, strip mall or something, but I think it's missing a little bit of that detail. That for me would be one thing that would help it. All right. Is there any other comments from the board?
The only other comment I would make is, if you feel the owner might listen to our commentary, and want to come back in 2 weeks, I wouldn't have a problem with that either, but, like I said, my opinion is, if this is what you want to do, I would go to approve it. I think you'd be better off not to. That's where I am, just my interpretation of how this ordinance works.
Any other comments from board members?
Nope.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of where we're at, David. So, if you want us to vote on it as it is, we can go ahead and do that. Or if you want to talk to the owner about any of the comments we've made first, we can table the vote.
What you mentioned, I mentioned. So this is what the result is, what they wanted.
Mhm.
So I came up with the idea of basically the transoms, but to do the transoms,
Right.
and that's with a 7-foot door on the west and a 6'8" door on the east, and you still got the skinnier transoms on the east and the larger transoms on the west. He really didn't like that.
Right.
last comment I'll make is, one of the things I like about the building is that at the pedestrian level, as you casually walk by it, it does look like it's got the appearance of two different buildings from a scale perspective. And I think that's beneficial to the walking experience by the
Mhm.
building itself.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
hear
even-
your comment.
Even to that point, you could have the transoms on the left and not on the right. I mean, it's a way to break them up. So I just think personally the facade's missing something on that more, on that scale. And it could be the glass, it could, the transoms, it could be the cloth, awning instead. There's a lot of things that could be done to this design to soften it up, in my opinion.
You could even bring that
So
brick,
your
middle brick.
comment, if I'm understanding you correctly, your comments are below the canopy is that, am I getting that right? You're talking
Well-
about the fenestration and clear stories and stuff, so.
I'm talking about the fenestration, but it's also been suggested, that if it was a fabric instead, it would have a little softer feel to it. I mean, I personally, I think all of those are good suggestions to help kind of to me, give this a little more character that fits in.
And where I'm having a little bit of a struggle is everything that you all have said
Yeah,
has already been said and discussed.
sure.
Yeah, and I think you've got the gut feeling that there might be a better solution that might fit the building more. I mean, I think you had the same gut that we did when looking at it, so,
It's like a jury.
yeah. Yeah, I
And
just.
I get
feel
it.
like
Okay,
This-
well, I mean, I guess it's a binary question. Do you want us to vote? Or do you-
And
That's your call.
the only, I won't say that what I don't know what to do is to go back to the homeowner and say, you can go online and review this, but it's a review of things we've already discussed. And if the recommendation from the board is this, and this, and it's tabled, then it's up to the owner to decide, do they want to accept those recommendations or not, or set their feet. But for all of our time and effort, everything that we've mentioned this evening has been discussed already.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So we vote?
Yeah, I think so. Could I have a motion, please, for 25 and 29 West Moody Avenue?
Make a motion to approve 25 and 29 West Moody Avenue as submitted.
Second,
All in favor?
I am in favor strictly on the point that my interpretation of the ordinance is, I don't think we can intervene. in this, so. And I think I made myself clear in terms of where I'd like to see it taken. So I'm a yes.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Opposed. All right. That's the end of that vote. 1 aye and 4 opposed.
Okay.
All right.
What is next? Thanks. Idea?
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks for your time,
Forget your
David.
Samples too.
Your drawings.
Sounds like we've gone through it, but hopefully. And something else. Oh, do you want these back?
Okay, that concludes our meeting.
Yes, session is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Dave.